Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the NFL coverage. We are here wrapping up week 4. Got some interesting things to talk about. But before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, we have a subscriber giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe and comment on any video, and you will be entered for a chance to win $50 here at Ivy Talks Podcast Network. It's that simple. One thing I do want to mention is negative comments will not get you entered into the giveaway. They don't have to be anything special. They could be emojis. They can be nice, pod, whatever. But nothing negative will get you entered. Just keep the negative stuff out. All you gotta do is comment, subscribe, and your hand will be entered. Just make sure that you have some email in your bio for your YouTube for me to contact you. And it will only be sent via PayPal or Cash App. I am not downloading any of these weird apps. So I apologize if you don't have those two. But the 1st and 15th of every month, subscriber giveaway. Enter the win, and it is in perpetuity. As long as the pod is active, then we will be doing this every month, 1st, 15th. So enter for that. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get straight into it. We're going to go over the scores, standings, and statistical leaders per usual. Thursday night, Seattle Seahawks beat the Cardinals 23-20. For the Dublin International Series, the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Vikings 24-21. Bills beat the Saints. The Texans beat the Titans 26-0. Bills beat the Saints 31-19. My Tennessee Titans, which I will kind of touch on that a little later, get beat by the Texans 26-20. Lions beat the Browns 34-10. We'll talk about that a little later as well. Falcons beat the Commanders 34-27. Eagles beat the Bucks 31-25. Patriots beat the Panthers 42-13. New York Giants beat the Chargers there in surprising fashion. Big upset, 21-18. Jacksonville Jaguars barely squeaked by the San Francisco 49ers, 26-21. Rams beat the Colts, 27-20. Bears beat the Raiders, 25-24. It's 2 in a row for the Bears. The Chiefs dominate the Ravens, 37-20. And the Cowboys and Packers end in a tie in overtime, 40-40. Monday night, we had a doubleheader. Dolphins beat the Jets, 27-21. And the Broncos beat the Bengals 28-3. So standings in the AFC, I'll go through by division, and I'm just gonna name them 1 through 4. AFC East, Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, Jets. Jets have yet to win a game there. Bills are undefeated. AFC North, Steelers, Bengals, Ravens, Browns. AFC South, Colts, Jaguars, Texans, Titans. Titans have yet to win a game. AFC West, Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders. NFC East, we got Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. Eagles are undefeated. NFC North, Lions, Packers, Vikings, Bears. NFC South, Buccaneers, Falcons, Panthers, Saints. Saints have yet to win a game. And in the NFC West, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals. Statistical leaders, passing yards, Dak Prescott with 1,119 passing yards. Passing touchdowns, Lamar Jackson with 10. Receiving yards, we got Puka Nacua, 503 receiving yards. Receiving touchdown, we have St. Brown for the Lions at 6 receiving touchdowns. Rushing yards, Jonathan Taylor at 414. Rushing touchdowns, James Cook at 5. Interceptions, Devin Lloyd at 3. He is also tied with Kevin Byard. Shout out Middle Tennessee State. Kevin Byard at 3 as well. Defensive tackles, Brooks at 44. Jordan Brooks at 44 for the Dolphins. At sacks, we have Brian Burns at 5.0. He is also tied with Byron Young at 5 sacks. Burns is with New York, and Young is with the Rams. So that's our statistical leaders. Some quick awards and achievements. Patrick Mahomes becomes the youngest player to throw 250 touchdowns in their win over the Ravens. So shout out Patrick Mahomes. And we'll also talk a little bit about that game later. Quick performance alerts. Again, performance alerts is going to be the quarterback with the most passing yards, the quarterback with the most passing touchdowns, quarterback with the most passing yards, receiver with the most receiving yards, running back with the most rushing yards, and then a defensive player with the best defensive productivity. So Patrick Mahomes, 25 or 37, 270 yards with 4 passing touchdowns, and their win over the Baltimore Ravens. They kind of look like the Chiefs that we are used to. They look like dynasty Chiefs. And again, we have that a little bit later in our discussion. Dak Prescott, 31 of 43, 337 yards with a passing touchdown, and the draw or the tie to Green Bay Packers. I feel like that game was very anticlimactic. People were excited to see Micah Parsons versus former team with a kind of struggling offensive line. Not necessarily struggling, but an injured offensive line for sure, because they had 2 starters were out on the offensive line. CeeDee Lamb was hurt, so they don't have their number 1 receiver. So there's a lot of questions going on with the Green Bay being, at the time, they were 3rd in total defense, number 3 defense in the in the league. And so it was a lot of questions about who was going to show up and get this dub. Ends in a draw, which I think is potentially a little more exciting, because if they face each other again this season, then it's like, hey, last time was a draw. This time's for all the marbles. So I think it's just the next game is just gonna be a higher anticipation. Says, yeah, Dak Prescott. Puka Nacua at 13 catches, 170 yards, 1 receiving touchdown, and their loss against the Giants. Wait, is that the right team? Did Rams play the Giants, or was that Chargers? Hang on, y'all. I might have got my teams mixed up. I just want to double check. No. Rams played, where are they at? And the Colts. And their loss to the Colts, not the Chargers. All right, I got that mixed up. Or not New York, yeah. The Colts and Rams played, and the Rams, Matthew Stafford looked absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, Puka looked really good at 170 yards and a passing touchdown. Final score was 27-20. So shout out to Puka. Travis, I'm going to butcher his last name. Itaidi. I'm just going to say Travis. He's the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Travis had 19 carries, 124 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. And their dub against the San Francisco 49ers. So Jacksonville Jaguars gets the dub against a pretty solid team. And not only that, Devin Lloyd, who defensive player for Jacksonville Jaguars, gets 8 total tackles, 6 solo, 2 assists, as well as 2 interceptions in the same game. So, I mean, absolute dog all over the place in that game. And I think Jacksonville's kind of having a very quietly good start to the season. They're 3-1. They're not really being talked about. They do have, I will say, they do have a phenomenal defense. Let me look at, Lord, I believe he is a linebacker. Yes, linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then let me go to, where are they at? Jacksonville Jaguars. I want to say their rushing defense is top 10 in the league. If I can find, there you go. They play the Chiefs. Yeah, so Jacksonville's Jaguars rushing defense. So their front 7 is solid. They got they're 4th in rushing defense. They only give up 82 rushing yards a game. So very interesting to see how the Jacksonville Jaguars progress as the season goes, because nobody's really talking about them, but they only have 1 loss in the season entering week 5. Now, they have a tough matchup because they play the Chiefs, so we'll see how that goes down, but we'll get into that later when we talk about matchups and things like that. And so that's going to do it for our top performers. And you want to know what's more exciting than watching NFL football is betting on NFL football and getting money. So, ladies and gentlemen, Prize Picks is where it's at. I just recently got on Prize Picks, and you guys should get on Prize Picks if you are into sports betting. It's very easy. Prize Picks is the most fun way to play daily fantasy. All you have to do is pick more or less on at least 2 players' player projections on separate teams, of course. And you can win up to 25x times your money. All you got to do is Patrick Mahomes over the yards or under the yards. And then you might go Dak Prescott over yards, under yards. You pick, submit it, and it's that simple, all right? You win 25 times X your money. Download the Prize Pick app and go to prizepicks.com. Use promo code. This is your boy's promo code. Now, it is a random assortment of letters, so it's not as clean cut as these big name podcasts. But all you gotta do is just download it and go and use promo code PR-6LZTKHD. That's PR-6LZTKHD to get a $50 bonus and bet bonus after you deposit at least $10. You deposit $10 and you get $50 in bonus bets. So that's money that is not yours that you can bet on. You can bet aggressive, you can bet conservative, try to convert that money into withdrawable cash, or you can bet all 50 on a random parlay, 6-leg parlay, aggressive, that could pay out big bucks. If you lose, not your money, so you're good. Download Prize Picks, use promo code. All right. Quick discussions I have. Don't have any discussions after this past week, but what I do have is we got 2 undefeated teams left. We got Bills, we got Eagles. Bills look like a legit Super Bowl contender, okay? Undefeated, good defense. James Cook's playing great. Kincaid's playing great. Obviously, Josh Allen's playing great. Defense is making plays, okay? They look good. Eagles are undefeated. Here's the thing with the Eagles it's very weird and confusing. Eagles find a way to win. They have, after this past game, they haven't lost in 365 calendar days. It's been more than that now. They haven't lost in 365 days. They're finding ways to win. Obviously, they're coming off Super Bowl win against the Chiefs. But when you look at their productivity, there's nothing special. For example, let me break this down to you. Eagles' total offense is 30th. They're second to last offensively. Remember, they are undefeated. Passing offense, 31st. There's 32 teams. They're second to last, 31st passing offense. Rushing offense, 16th. So about middle of the pack. Points, top 10 in points. They put up points, 27 points. Third down conversion, tied 8th. So it's pretty good. Third down conversion is your ability offensively to stay on the field when it's third down, convert on third down. Defensively, their total defense is 22nd. Bottom 10. Passing defense, 17th, middle of the pack. Rushing defense, 21st, bottom 11, kind of bottom of the pack. Points, they give up about 22 points a game. That puts them about 15th, middle of the pack. Third down conversion, upper middle of the pack, about 14th. They convert about 37% of the time. So offensively, they're not very. And then the way the ratings for this is just yards that they give up or yards they get. So passing offense is 31st because they average 138 passing yards per game. That's how it's set up. And obviously points is points, rushing yards, how many rushing yards do they average? And it's ranked. So they average the 16th most rushing yards in the league. That's how it's just set up on yards, which that doesn't tell the entirety of an offense, but it's a good indicator. Generally, the more yards you average in a total offense, it usually equates to more points. It doesn't always equate to more points. For example, I was talking to my buddy Paul, and I was saying how, or it might have been Noah, shout out Noah Paul. I don't know what year it was, but there's a year with the New England Patriots, the year they won the Super Bowl, where defensively, they gave up a lot of yards, but they didn't give up a lot of points because their defense was a bend but don't break. Their defense would let other teams drive the whole field. Ball be on the 20, they would drive it 75 yards, ball get in the red zone, 5-yard line. They would stop them and only give up a field goal. Or they'd stop them on a 4th down goal line drive. Or they get a turnover in the red zone. So stat-wise, their defense is giving up a lot of points or a lot of yards, but they're not giving up a lot of points. Bend but don't break. So that's kind of an example of how going off of just yardage doesn't tell the whole story, but that's a kind of a one-off. That's not usually the common theme. Usually the more yards you give up, you usually give up more points for the most part. So that's why with the Eagles, it's very interesting because they're undefeated. They don't really get a lot of yards, but they're just I don't know if it's an efficiency thing or if it's their special teams putting them in good positions, if it's their defense finding a way to get takeaways or put their offense in good positions because they're not getting a lot of yards, but they're scoring enough points and they're holding teams obviously to less points that they score because their defense only give up 22 points on average. They score 27 points on average. So it's a weird, like wildly efficient team. My problem is I don't know how sustainable that is. I don't. I've been thinking about it. I have yet to see them really be super explosive. Actually, before I make that statement, let me double check. Okay, against the Bengals, they're very explosive. They dropped 34 points. Against the Browns, which no, that's preseason. I'm sorry. The Rams, they scored 33 points. Chiefs, they scored 20 points. They won 20-17. Rams, they won 33-26. Cowboys, they won 24-20. And then the Bucks, they won 31-25. So they have the ability to score points, but these are against teams like I'm interested to see. We'll get there one of these matchups games. But when they go against a top defense, now I'm going to be interested in how they perform, how they show up. So yeah, Philadelphia Eagles is one of those teams. They're undefeated. I can see Bills going the whole season undefeated, the way they play. I could see them being 17-0 or like 15-2. Eagles, I think at some point they might hit a rough patch to where they might go 2-3 game losing streak. I don't know yet. It's still early in the season. It's only been 4 games. So we'll have to see as the season goes on. Next discussion. Another team I think has the potential to win the Super Bowl or Super Bowl contending team are the Detroit Lions. Okay? Detroit Lions, top 10 offense. 8 total yards. They're 10th in passing, 6th in rushing, and points, they're first. They put up the most points on average in the NFL. Third down conversion, they're 11th. So on all fronts, they are very good, solid, very good team, all fronts offensively. Defensively, 13th overall. It's not bad. Not top 10, but they're right there outside of the top 10. Passing defense, 13th. Rushing defense is top 10. They're 7th. They only give up 94 rushing yards a game. They don't give up a lot of rushing yards. Points, they're 15th, middle of the pack. Third down conversions, they're 22nd. So their defense is decent. It's above average. It's not top 10. It's not elite. It's above average. It's really good. And the fact that they were able to they scored 34 points on the number 1 defense in the league. When I see offenses, it's hard to judge the offense in totality when you look at just their yards. I need to see what they did against the top defenses. If you go against a team that has the worst defense in the league and you put up 30, 40 plus points, of course. But you put up 34 points against the best defense in the NFL, seeing that if they can play at that level the rest of the season, I think they can make a deep playoff, and they're just a well-coached team. They're oh my gosh, their head coach, Campbell. I'm a huge Dan Campbell fan. I think the way he runs his team, the way they're well coached, I just love how the team is ran from a coaching perspective. They execute well ran. You can tell they're well coached. You can tell his discipline is being translated to the team. So I can't say I'm a Detroit a Detroit Lion fan, but I'd be rooting for Detroit. Shout out Noah. I'd be rooting for Detroit. So that was very interesting. I even talked to Noah before the game. Noah's the biggest Detroit Lions fan that I know. One of the big, him and my barber from Nashville, Mr. Tony, 2 of the biggest Detroit Lions fans that I know. Like delusionally loyal fans. You know what I'm talking about, those fans. But I was talking to him and I said, I literally told him if Detroit can score 30 more points. Now, granted, one of those touchdowns was I believe a special teams touchdown. So they didn't technically score. Offensively, they didn't technically score 34 points, but I'll count it because special teams is a part of the game. But I was like, if Detroit can score 30 plus points on the Browns, the number 1 defense in the league, I think they have a really good shot at winning the Super Bowl. Cause hold up, where's my Browns at? Browns, they're the 1-3, but their defense is phenomenal. Jesus, they gave up 41 points against the Ravens. But most of their games have been, they only have 17 points against Bengals, 13 points against the Packers, Now, they gave up 34 against Lions and 41 against the Ravens, but they are the number one defense in the league. They scored 34 points. I think they got a really good shot. So Detroit will be a team I will keep my eye on for the rest of the season. Last discussion, are the Chiefs back? We saw spurts of the Chiefs playing like the Dynasty Chiefs. My question is, can they keep this momentum going to get back on the winning side of football? That's the big question. Can the Chiefs keep this momentum, right? Because that Ravens game, I don't want to take away what the Chiefs did. Patrick Mahomes had 4 passing touchdowns. But for the Ravens, a lot of stuff they did was kind of them shooting themselves in the foot. Derrick Henry, I don't know why they didn't double down on Derrick Henry, because the Chiefs' run defense isn't the best. If I could, let me look real quick. Because the Chiefs are, when do the Chiefs play? Sorry, I have notes in more than one app. The Chiefs are Monday night. They play against Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Chiefs' running defense is 22nd. So it's bottom 11. And you have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And yet Derrick Henry only had 8 carries for 23 yards. He didn't really touch the ball second half. I don't understand why the Ravens didn't try to double down and get Derrick Henry going. Because we know Derrick Henry, first half really, it's 4 yards here, 2-3 yards here, 5 yards here. It's that second half where he's still coming downhill with the speed and momentum. And that second half is when he starts to get those 10, 15, 20-yard runs. I don't know why they didn't lean into that. So that kind of seemed like they shot themselves in the foot a little bit. So it'll be this game for this upcoming game. Do I have that as a? I'll save it for Coach Stribs if I have it. Okay, I don't. This upcoming game, they play the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars have the 4th best run defense in the league. Their front 7 is one of the best from a productive standpoint. Their front 7 is fantastic. That D-line and those linebackers fill gaps. That's why they have their 4th in rushing defense. So it'll be interesting to see how the Chiefs, against a really good front 7, how they fare offensively against that. So I will definitely keep my eye on that for the Chiefs, because if they can show that they can be versatile offensively from passing and running against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they can keep this momentum going. All right, that's going to be the last of my just discussions from this past week. So upcoming matchups, week 5, Thursday night, San Francisco 49ers against the LA Rams at LA. Then Sunday, we have the International Series. This is in London. We got the Minnesota Vikings playing the Browns. Then we have Cowboys at Jets, Broncos at Eagles, Texans at Ravens, Giants at Saints, Raiders at Colts, Dolphins at Panthers, Buccaneers at Seahawks, Titans at Cardinals, Commanders at Chargers, Lions at Bengals, Patriots at Bills. And then Monday night, we just have one game, Chiefs versus Jaguars Monday night. Bye week, Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh. All right. So Coach Strib's games of interest. The first one is Eagles versus Broncos. Because Broncos also have, well, let me see if it changed. So Broncos had a top 10 defense. After this past week, their defense dropped to 11th. So they're right in that upper echelon, 10, 11, right in there. So it'll be interesting to see how the Eagles fare against a solid defense. I want to see them go against a solid defense. If they can put up points against the Broncos, then I think the Eagles are legit. They're just efficient with their yardage. If they can't, then I do think that it's not an efficiency issue. It's the ability to have explosive downfield plays that they're kind of struggling with. Because I know AJ Brown's not really being targeted much. Devontae Smith's not really being targeted much. So I'm curious to see how they navigate that, because the Broncos have the 9th passing defense is 9th. So will they struggle passing the ball against a solid secondary? We'll see. Not only that, but their rushing defense is 11th. You got Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, after the year he had last year, this year it's kind of like hit or miss here and there. Can they get Saquon going? Can they get the ball in Devontae Smith? If I said Devontae Adams earlier, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Devontae Smith's hands, and can they get the ball in A.J. Brown's hands? That's the question, and getting Saquon Barkley going early. If I'm the Eagles, I'm starting off. I'm not going to run the ball 3 times. I don't want a 3 and out. If I'm offensive coordinator, last thing I want my first drive is a 3 and out. But I do want to establish the run early to open up the pass in the game. I want to keep the Broncos defense honest. I want to be able, if they load the box, to be able to pass the ball. If they unload the box, to be able to run it. Keep them honest to where they keep their defense balanced so you have more options. That's what I'm looking for the Eagles in that matchup. Texans versus Ravens. The reason why this is my game to watch, and the Texans are actually a favorite by, it's a 1.5 point. The plus or minus 1.5. They're expecting a close game. I think if the Baltimore Ravens lose against the Texans, then the panic button should be hit for the Baltimore Ravens. If they can't get Derrick Henry going, then I think it's going to be a struggle for the Ravens the rest of the season. Now, Texans, they got a top 10 defense. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and act like the Texans don't have a solid defense. Their total defense is 7th. Their rushing defense is 7th. Their total defense is 7th. Their passing defense is 7th. And their rushing defense is 12th. So the rushing defense is still in that upper echelon, right outside the top 10. Can the Ravens figure stuff out? Obviously, the play action, getting Derrick Henry going early. Just keep him consistent, keep him a part of the game, and you got to find a way to get the ball to Flowers, get the ball to Mark Andrews. They gotta figure out a way to get their offense going. If they lose this, they're 1-4. Ravens was a big favorite for a playoff run, but at the beginning of the season, now it's looking like they might not even make the playoffs. So Ravens got to get this dub. I think this is a must-win for them. They lose this, you press the panic button like, okay, something has gone awry. Something has gone wrong. So that's a game, Coach Strib's game of interest. Next, Giants and Saints. The reason why this is and then Saints are 1.5 point favorite. The reason why this is a game of interest is because first 3 games, Russell Wilson's the starter. They play, right? This past game, the game they won against the Chargers, Jackson Dart started, and they got the dub. So it seems like Jackson Dart's probably going to be the quarterback they move forward with as their guy at quarterback. I'm curious to see Jackson Dart, decent game, this past game. Week 2, all right, Jackson Dart, what are we doing? Now, Saints 0-4. So it's not like they're playing against an undefeated or a team that's 3-1. They're playing against an 0-4 team. Jackson Dart this needs to be the game he executes and showcases his ability and what he's capable of against this team with the Saints. Okay, Saints defensively 20th. Passing defense 15th, middle of the pack. Rushing defense, middle of the pack. They give up 30 points per game. They're 30th in points. Jackson Dart has to find a way to put up points to show I'm here, I'm your quarterback. This is Jackson Dart era starting with the New York Giants. So this is my game, Coach Strib's games of interest or games to watch, because I'm seeing what is Jackson Dart going to do game 2. They got film on him now. They got the tendencies from last game. They're looking at his tendencies. They're looking at his habits and all of that stuff. Now they have film on him. Defenses are going to make adjustments. Now they have a full game's worth of film on him. Can he adjust to defensive adjustments? That's what I'm going to be watching for this one. Shout out Ron, the biggest New York Giant fan I know. Shout out Ron. Last but not least, Cowboys and Jets. Cowboys, 2.5 is -2.5 for the Cowboys. And after this past week, Cowboys have the number 1 total offense. It was the Colts. At one point, I believe it was the Lions, then it was the Colts. Now it's Dallas. Dallas has proven their offense can put up numbers. They're 5th in points. They're top 5 in points scored. They're number 1 in total yards. They're number 1 in passing yards. Rushing 12, so still upper echelon. This is, for me, I'm watching Dallas's defense. Can Dallas's defense show up and show they can be good enough or improve to the point where they're not a liability for the Dallas Cowboys? Dallas Cowboys are 1-2-1 with the tie. They gave up 40 points last year. Dallas's defense is last in total defense. They give up the most yards in the league. They're last in passing defense. So this could be an opportunity for their secondary to go over their mistakes, fix their mistakes, come out against an offense that's passing offense is 29th, right? So this is going to be a good test for them to test the waters of where they're really at. If they struggle against a Justin Fields who's still trying to figure it out a little bit, some of his decision-making is a little questionable. His completion percentage isn't that great. So it's going to be on their – I think this game comes down to their secondary and stopping the pass for the Jets. So I'm curious just to see the momentum swing if they can keep playing with this offensively, play with the same momentum they played against the Packers, obviously put up 40 points. And defensively, they got to hunker down. They got to 10 toes down, and they got to say, enough is enough. We got to stop giving up so many points, so many yards, all right? And that's going to be my last Coach Strib's games of interest. So, again, Week 5 coming up, super exciting. Definitely going to be placing some bets on Prize Picks. Your boy's been winning. I got a really good win percentage. But I'm excited. Thursday night. This is coming out on a Wednesday, so tomorrow night. And we'll see how things, where the chips fall at the end of Week 5. So that's going to be all for this episode of the NFL coverage. We'll catch you guys next time.